So you guys know that the shooting in Vegas happened during a concert. It was the Route 91 Harvest Festival. A lot of country acts there. One of the groups there was the Josh Abbott Band, and their guitarist Caleb Keeter put out a really interesting statement after the shooting because he was there, and he apologized for saying that the Second Amendment should not be checked. It's really interesting. Listen to his experience. Even if you don't agree with him, listen to what he experienced so that you have a sense of it. He said, "I've been a proponent of the Second Amendment my entire life. Until the events of last night, I cannot express how wrong I was. We actually have members of our crew with CHL licenses and legal firearms on the bus. They were useless." He said that his bandmates and the crew couldn't access their firearms during the attack because police could have mistaken them for the attackers. So he's like, we had the guns and they're in the bus, but we realized we go get them. Number one, how the hell are we gonna shoot the guy on the 32nd floor?
Right, well, first of all, thank God they realized that, the cops might mistake them for the shooter. Because in a moment of panic like that, you're not thinking straight, right? It's complete chaos. People are trampling over one another. You don't know where the shooter is. You don't know what's going on. And in a moment of panic, I think it's human instinct and human nature to reach for your weapon. And I'm glad that they had a moment where they stopped and they thought about it and they didn't do so.
And there's been study after study about whether people can react quickly enough in a mass shooting scenario to actually get the shooter. Almost every time the person drawing a gun gets killed. So now in this case, it would have been different because he's on the 32nd floor. He can't even see your gun down there.
Yeah.
He's killing indiscriminately. But studies indicate generally you do not get the shooter. I know you all want to be heroes and say, oh, I would have had the gun and I would have been able to target. But likely, you're really going to fire a gun at the 32nd floor. You don't know who's in the other floors. You don't know. You could accidentally shoot people so easily in that situation. It's insane to do that. Second of all, you got a gun on the ground and the cops are on the ground and they come. As he found out himself personally, of course that's a terrible idea. One more quote from him. He said, "We need gun control right now. My biggest regret is that I stubbornly didn't realize it until my brothers on the road and myself were threatened by it." Look, I don't want to, it's a wonderful thing that he had an open enough mind for him to recognize I was wrong about that. And when I lived it, I realized that the gun wasn't gonna help me, the gun's what was killing us, right? On the other hand, it just drives me crazy when conservatives need something to happen to them directly before they can empathize with others.
Yeah, I hear you. That is frustrating. However, even in situations like Steve Scalise, the congressman who was shot during a baseball game, he hasn't changed his mind when it comes to guns. So it literally happened to him. He was moments away from dying himself because of gun violence. He hasn't changed his mind at all on the Second Amendment. No. And so, look, I give him so much credit in this case, this musician, so much credit in this case to at least admit that he was wrong. Because the reality is, people don't like admitting that they're wrong, even when they've been proven that they're wrong. And it takes courage. I'm happy. No criticism.
No credit. No, I hear you. Credit where credit is due. And even if it took his life being threatened and his friends and the people he cares about lives being threatened, it's okay. And it isn't about who's right and who's wrong. It's about think about what he lived, what his experience was that led him to that conclusion, which is in these type of shooting scenarios, it's almost impossible to draw your weapon. So the ideology was always, no, I need the Second Amendment to protect myself. And in a mass shooting, it just doesn't work that way. Instead, the weapon is used by the madman to mow you all down. The weapon in that case is not your ally. It is not your friend. It's the thing that's killing you. So please don't let it happen to you or your family members before you can see that logic as well. Even if you believe the Second Amendment is wonderful, and I don't think Caleb has necessarily changed his mind overall about whether it should exist or not. He didn't mention anything along those lines. But yes, you can have reasonable checks on rights guaranteed in the Constitution. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. You also don't have the right to bring in a machine gun into a crowded theater. So listen to what this guy is saying. He lived it. The reality is we should have reasonable checks. Otherwise, mass shootings like this are gonna happen over and over again. Help us build independent media together. Come join us, tytnetwork.com/join.